I would like to read to you a chapter from a book of mine that was recently published, Trouble in Flatbush. Now, although this book is honest, whimsical, funny, actually, the first chapter may not give you that impression, but it is a very light book. So here is chapter 1. Chapter 1. Something was wrong. Change had abruptly slipped into our family, and it affected me in everything that I did. I had turned 12, and my Garden of Eden, that was Brooklyn in those years, was being muddied day by day. Clues as to the cause of change were dispatched in abundance, but as hard as I tried, I was unable to decipher meaning from any of them. The most compelling clue was that a new tone entered the voice of my world. In Brooklyn in those days, it was less important what was said as to how it was delivered. Lightly sung, "I'm gonna kill ya," was often followed by a friendly hug. With a smile, "You're killing me," usually meant that your joke was a success. "You're gonna buy it," ominously delivered, had nothing to do with shopping. Words were decorations to serious tunes. Tone was everything. So, when my parents changed their tone, my antenna picked up that something dreadful had happened. Instead of talking directly to Dad as she always had done, Mom now broadcasting unfolding proceedings to all those within earshot. This happened to involve the whole family, including Dad. Her manner was a neutral radio-free Brooklyn. Instead of chirping, "Come on, Charlie, come on to dinner," it was monotone and impersonal, as if to say, "And now, for all those interested in the dinner event, activities are observed to be commencing in the kitchen. A truly immediate occasion. Latecomers will not be seated." When a direct communication channel opened up between Mom and Dad, it was in the secret language used to keep us kids in the dark. This was my initiation into the use of Yiddish as a clandestine code. The mystery that lurked within our family continued to elude me for a long time. It made me an outsider in our tiny world. Dad never raised his voice, a custom instilled in him as part of his British heritage. His expressiveness in Yiddish seemed to be in the minor leagues compared to Mom, so he said less. If Lord Nelson spoke Yiddish, he would have used the same colorless voice that Dad used. Mom, on the other hand, spoke fluently and passionately. Nonetheless, she was soft-spoken as well. One had to study the innuendo, the pitch, and the tempo to fully get a feeling of what was going on. In addition, she managed to crochet words from different languages into the same sentence. This added to the intrigue, since on occasion an English word popped up out of the babble, such as disappointed. Mom was resourceful in that way. I assumed that there was no such word in Yiddish, which in itself surprised me, since every conversation hovered around disappointment in some form or other. Dad, on the other hand, managed to learn a second language from his neighborhood pals. He was fluent in Italian retorts of the most arresting kind. He was able to put the brakes on Mom's monologues with a simple "Bafangul" uttered beneath his breath. My knowledge of Italian blossomed while I was in linguistic darkness of Yiddish. But alas, without understanding Mom's code, it continued to be a mystery. Was someone dying? What was it that could not be shared with us kids? Once in a while, I gathered enough of the foreign sentence to ask Mom what it meant. Like a sage handing down the meaning of life, Mom would tilt her head to stress the profundity and translate, "If I had wheels, I'd be a trolley car." So, this is the clue? That's what would reveal the mystery that gripped our household? That's what you said to Dad that made his face flush with anger? Another time, Mom repeated, "Folg mir Gang," which thrust Dad from the room with his jaw hanging open. After the turbulence died down, I asked Mom what that meant. With a studied glance, Mom explained that it translated as, "You're making me go to Japan by way of Alaska, which is the opposite way that I wanted to go." Come on, Ma. How could 3 words convey so much? For the jet set, please understand that Mom was ignorant of the polar route. It took me nearly a year to discover the secret that gripped my life. I was nearly 13 near the end of 1951, but I accidentally discovered it. This is my memory of that year. I began the year a child and felt my salad days disappear as I began to understand the humanity of my parents, friends, and neighbors. Thank you.
Well, our theme tells us it's time once again to say goodbye. Thanks for coming around today, ladies and gentlemen. And we invite you to join us again next Sunday when we have a special Purim program all set for you. This is Louis Charles saying good afternoon and inviting you to
listen in again next week, same time, same station.
WHN, New York.